what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Knockout Sessions. I appreciate everyone supporting the channel and all the love and support you guys are always showing. As you can see, Julio got cuter, right? So we have a special guest today, which is Avi, my brother. Julio's out there being a mandilon somewhere at the beach, so...
He's on the third world country closest to America.
So we had to tag in the better half of him, which is this guy.
Realistically, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just eye candy. Please subscribe.
That's what it is. So obviously we're on our last video we did a preview of UFC 297. So it's only right that we get right into it with the beginning of 297. So obviously main event we had Sean Strickland with Dricusduplessis, DDP, and this is where I want to get it started with, right? So I actually had it tied at the end of the fourth, and I actually edged the fifth round to Sean. So I actually agreed with Daddy Dana on this one. I know, and I know there was a little bit of, you know, I don't know if you saw that Duplessis was a little sad that Dana had scored it kind of similar to the way I said it. It was tied up after the fourth, and he actually favored Sean.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, who did you think to start off with? One, do you think the right person won?
I mean, for being brutally honest, I think, well, for starters, we all know that the champ is always favored, you know, because they're the champ, they're there for a reason. So realistically, I think DDP maybe did enough to like get the draw, but I honestly am not sure if he deserved the dub.
Okay, perfect.
Like, to be honest, I really don't.
And huge props, you know, to DDP because, God, that man's stamina's on point. Holy shit, that dude, I don't think throughout the whole fucking fight, this man ever threw a regular fucking punch.
No, literally, that man was swinging for the fucking fences the whole fight.
Like, every swing that dude gave was ready to just end the, you know, Sean. And props to Sean, man. Like his punches obviously wasn't a lot of volume, but he stayed in the pocket. Yeah. The man's defense and counters are on point. We saw his counters all over DDP's face.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I'll give DDP credit for is he showed the holes in Sean's game, which is that Sean clearly isn't ready for any top tier wrestler.
No, because that's one of the things I was going to say about DDP that he did very well, besides obviously his stamina, was every single time he went for the takedowns, God, that looked beautiful.
Yeah, his takedowns were crispy. For the most part, Sean had like no answers for them whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like every takedown pretty much landed him on the ground.
Yeah, and then, I mean, if anything, he did a good job of just making sure he didn't stay on the ground. I mean, the whole fight for the most part was literally on the feet. And I don't know, man, like I said, like I did edge Sean because I think Sean had for sure won the fifth round. I think the round that kind of was iffy was round number 3, if I remember correctly, where it's like Sean started in well, but then that's when DDP got the takedown where he hooked his ankle and, you know, dropped Sean to the floor. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that could have been the swinger round, but yeah, I don't know. I think I had it even, you know, towards the fourth, and I think primarily the reason why I edged Sean was because yes, DDP had those good takedowns, but again, I think the fact that Sean stayed disciplined, he stayed composed, his defense was good. His defense, the same way that we saw it against Izzy, was on point.
Yeah, he's in the kind of UFC shoulder roll kind of style.
Yeah, exactly. And then
nobody else does that.
I know, Ryan needs to learn from this guy.
Oh yeah.
And then and obviously his counter punching. So overall, I mean, I think he had done enough. I can't agree, but it's kind of one of those situations where the fight was close enough. You know, obviously, like I said, I think it was even at the end of the fourth. So the fight was close enough to not say robbery. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think either Sean should have won or just give it a draw.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'll say throughout the whole fight, Sean definitely always had the crispiest shots landing. Another thing that I'm really just thinking now, that this might be a hot take because nobody really wants to hear about this man at the moment, but
hot takes.
This would be the perfect time for Izzy to get his belt back.
Oh, I mean, 100%, because I think, and I know me and Julio kind of talked about this before, that what are we doing with UFC 300? And technically speaking, this is a perfect opportunity for Dana to have a main event now, right? Now you got the hype and the beef, between Izzy and DDP, before he lost the belt to Sean, right? I know Julio's over here daydreaming that this fight's supposed to take place in Africa. Maybe he's right, but I mean, there's always rematches. If the fight is good enough, we'll get a rematch and we'll just make the rematch in Africa. I think right now we need something that's UFC 300 main event good enough, and I think this would be it. Because obviously Izzy doesn't have anything scheduled.
Right.
He was just on the sideline. I know it's kind of a somewhat quick turnaround time, especially with DDP's face.
Yeah, that eyeball, respectfully, disgusting.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that one didn't end the whole fight, because that looked gross.
Yeah, so
I'm like, censor that next time, please.
But at the same time, it's like, I think Sean deserves a shot at the title based on how close the fight was.
Yeah.
So right now we mainly, sadly, need a main event for UFC 300. I think, again, with the beef between DDP and Izzy, this is a good time to sell that fight, and a good time to schedule a main event. But I do believe that based on how close the fight was, I think Sean should fairly get the winner of that fight.
Absolutely agreed. I mean, this was his first title defense, and it wasn't even a sweet victory in favor of DDP. So, it's going to leave some... I mean, I've already seen the comments to what a lot of people are saying, which is kind of like robbery. Like I said, I don't think it was a robbery.
Yeah, it was too close to be a robbery.
Yeah, definitely left a bad taste in people's mouths, so definitely got to run it back at some point. But if there's one thing that Strickland definitely did show, is that DDP has a lot of holes in his game, especially when it comes to the stand-up.
Yeah.
Because that head never moved off center line.
And I think that's where, like you said, if there's ever a time that Izzy can become a champion again, bro, like Izzy's obviously a beast at stand-up. He just couldn't figure out, Strickland's shoulder roll in his fight. Maybe his game was off. Obviously, he was coming off of the win with Alex. But kind of speaking of Alex, I don't know if you saw that Alex tweeted that after DDP won, that maybe he might make a run at the middleweight division again.
Alex, come on, bro. This man's got a lot of hype going on in this potential Aspinall fight. He just beat Geary.
Yep.
Now he might fight Izzy, or now he wants to fight DDP.
Yeah.
This man's kind of getting lost in his own sauce. I'm like, complete your run at light heavyweight first, and then we can talk about everything else.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, to move back down after moving up, I don't think realistically, the weight cut's going to do him any good. DDP entertained the idea, but I think it's more of like, hey, DDP, like, defend the belt against Izzy or Sean again, which Izzy's most likely going to be next.
Of course.
Depending on how that goes, if you really feel froggy, move up. But again, realistically, we saw what Alex did to Sean Strickland. I don't know why we think DDP would withstand Alex's punches any better than what Strickland did. So
absolutely,
I know styles make fights, but believe me, I think Alex will probably knock out DDP.
Or at the very least, rearrange that pretty boy face, because Strickland doesn't have power like that. But my lord, was that eye nasty?
Yeah,
I just have to emphasize that one more time. God. But I think we're kind of in mutual agreement. Fair play to DDP, but it's kind of an iffy fight.
Yeah.
But moving on to hurt the heart of every Canadian fan in the UFC. Mike Malott.
Yeah, so obviously there was a lot of hype behind him. Potential prospect to be the next big thing coming out of Canada. But
yeah, but my lord, it doesn't help that literally before the event took place, this man was talking spicy. And when I say spicy, I mean this man was talking like Conor McGregor in his prime. He's talking about, oh, it's not a real win to me if I don't get a knockout.
Ooh, the irony.
Yeah. Which means, to be fair, Mike Malott was dominating those first 2 rounds. Like, the first 2 rounds were not close. It was on the road to being a unanimous decision for Mike Malott. Mm-hmm. But then that third round just came around and he did something that he didn't have to do, which I think, to be fair to him, the talent is there.
Yeah.
But it just kind of shows an experience on his part.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, the talent's there, but I mean, this is where he's going to have to learn how to grow. You know? Yeah, because I mean, let's be real. Every fighter wants to be a knockout artist, but not every fighter's that guy. Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, like Mike Malott did show, like he's got the grappling skills. He's strong. Mm-hmm. When he's not gassed out, that man will manhandle you. He could probably manhandle a rhino.
Ooh,
it is.
That's a man.
It's pretty cute too, you know, just in your words. But you know, it just wasn't his night. Just got a little too excited, so TKO, and it was a pretty bad TKO. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, and then I think that puts like all the Canadians. Like 0-7 or something like that.
Yeah. Canada, we love you, Canada, but my lord, does your talent pool disappoint?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the MMA god GSP, like Canada would be in the can. But you know, it's neither intended. No pun intended. Moving on to the ladies. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. It was a very lackluster fight. The promo would have you believe it was going to be like a war between two she-devils. Mm-hmm. Not even close.
Yeah.
It was super one-sided and not even in a fun kind of way where the knockout happened or anything. It was almost like a more painful version of DDP versus Strickland because it's like, imagine if DDP fought Strickland, but DDP didn't stand a chance. That's basically what it was. I mean, for anyone who missed it, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because, you know, no hate against the females division, but that was a weak championship fight.
Yeah, which, I don't know if you kind of heard and stuff, but I mean, we kind of expected this to kind of be a weak card overall, and to a good reason. I mean, obviously they're not trying to stack up all these cards because, I mean, the next couple cards coming up, I mean, they're all pretty fucking stacked. So it's kind of hard to have scheduled anything good on this card for the same reason that everything that you would probably want in a card is coming up later on, either in 298, 299, or 300 at this point. Yeah,
which, I mean, at this point, 300 is kind of like, who knows what's even going down at that point.
Yeah.
Do we even have a main event announced?
That's what I'm saying. We don't. That's why the whole Izzy DDP situation is kind of what's going to make sense at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. 300 is just like, it's like a unicorn at this point. Mm-hmm. Everybody hears about it. It sounds real magical, but nobody actually knows what's going on with that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Daddy Dana has up his sleeve on that one.
Hopefully. But, like you said, overall, you know, Strickland, DDP, entertaining main event. The rest of the card was fairly weak. We pretty much covered all the relevant bits of that. So yeah, so I mean, for the most part, beyond that, I mean, moving to my favorite side, boxing side. I got a special place in my heart for boxing. Mm-hmm. If we move to the boxing side, not a lot going on right now. Everything's kind of in limbo. But of course, the person that can't seem to stay out of the people's mouth right now is Ryan. Of course. Because me and Julio kind of touched on this last time about how I got frustrated at first because I was like, oh, Ryan started with Devin Haney talks, right? And then next thing you know, he was like, oh, I'm making, you know, talks with Rolly Romero. So it seems to be moving forward. Mm-hmm. I'm apologizing first to you, Ryan, because the last video, I gave you shade because then we went to De La Hoya announcing that you were finalizing a deal with Jose Ramirez, right? Yeah. And then Ryan comes out and says on his Instagram,
He's like, no, Jose, you're not next, whatever. But in between all this commotion, it turns out now that Rolly got upset with Ryan, and apparently now Rolly's trying to move forward to make a fight with Isaac Cruz.
Which, I mean...
that fight itself is not bad.
No.
But see, where the fuck does that leave Ryan now?
See, my line of thinking is, first of all, let's get it out of the way. Like you said, got to give Ryan some credit, because kind of just goes back to the original problem that we always have with boxing, which is politics, where Golden Boy is kind of going in one direction and they're trying to make their fighter go in that direction, but then Ryan's like, that doesn't do anything for me. I want the big name. So, again, fair play to Ryan for that.
Yeah, but see, the problem here was that Ryan has burned the good bridges now, because Devin Haney said, fuck you, boy, don't ever mention my name. Right. Rolly just said, fuck you, Ryan, and fuck you, De La Hoya, like, you guys are a bunch of pussies, for fucking, bringing my name into a conversation. And then apparently De La Hoya tried to make a fight between Isaac and Ryan also behind Rolly's back.
I did hear about that one.
You know what I'm saying? And then blaming Rolly and Devin Haney, saying that they outpriced themselves and Isaac Cruz. So again, yes, props to Ryan. Ryan has always had the right mentality of trying to go forward for the big fights. But dude, if we're talking about politics in boxing and it's always getting in the way, there was no politics with Devin Haney. They're both with the zone right now. Devin Haney obviously is his own promotion, and De La Hoya is under the zone. Like, this should have been a smooth transition into making this fight happen. And I truly don't understand where the mentality came from, besides the fact that maybe it was that they think that Ryan's not ready for Devin Haney after the performance against Prograis.
Yeah.
But that's beyond the point, my dude. Like, how are you going to test yourself and get better? You know what I'm saying? If you don't get out there, the fact that Ryan's even able to get a title shot after losing, and obviously he won his fight against Oscar Duarte, but bro, you were right there in the talks. What are we doing?
I agree. Let me ask you this: do you think that it could be a case of Ryan started getting cold feet, or do you think it's solely on Oscar's shoulders this time?
I think the biggest problem is the big miscommunication between him and Oscar. Because obviously while Ryan's over here talking about Devin Haney and Rolly, Oscar signed Jose Ramirez and probably made this big promise to Jose that he was going to fight Ryan. And maybe, again, trying to go back to that they don't think that Ryan is ready, and Ryan's like, I don't care what y'all think kind of vibes.
Of course.
Maybe that's where the disagreement's at. But again, this is where they're both wrong, because there's one thing to have all these discussions and disagreements in closed doors, and then you're all out there fucking talking about it.
Well, we do have to acknowledge the fact that their whole dynamic has been pretty weird ever since, Oscar and I can't remember the guy's name right now. But regardless, Oscar kind of left Ryan to hang out to dry after the whole tank fight situation.
Bernard Hopkins.
Oh
yeah.
So ever since then, there's obviously been some tension there. One person saying one thing, the other person saying another thing. So it kind of just puts everybody in an awkward situation where it's like fights don't go through because of personal beef within the same promotion.
Yeah, because we also saw that whole commotion come on live from the press conference of Oscar Duarte.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where Ryan called out
Which was super awkward. Super awkward.
So I don't know, like if they don't get their act together, it's like, again, going back to what I said, so where does that leave Ryan? Because now Devin Haney is free to move on to maybe wanting to schedule a fight with Teofimo after Teofimo gets through I'm having a brain fart. Jermaine Ortiz, yeah. So since Haney doesn't have anything scheduled right now, he can literally wait till February 8th and maybe schedule that fight for like April, May.
Well, where things get a little interesting is Teofimo's been calling out Bud.
100%.
And then Boots has also been calling out Bud.
100%.
Bud has shown zero interest in either of those fights as of right now.
For good reason, because it's like, who's going to put up the money to see the Bud Boots or Bud Teofimo? They're going to probably put up the money to see an undisputed fight between Bud and the Charlo, Jamel.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? And I personally don't think that Bud needs Teofimo or Boots at this point in his career. Obviously, I think Bud has done what he needs to do to become a legend in his own right. I think right now his biggest focus should be the money fights. I think.
Fair enough.
I think he makes history by beating Jermell. I think if I were him, that means more to me than to prove to anybody that I should beat Teofimo or Boots. True. And if he moves forward to fight Jermell and wins, kind of like we've touched on before, that makes Bud the first 3-time undisputed champion.
That is true. Which, I mean, you know, fair enough. That is a much better prospect and legacy builder than, you know, fighting an undisputed guy who's already in a way underneath. Yeah,
or, you know, if he wants to pursue the undisputed or pursue the Canelo fight,
which realistically he shouldn't do because that's CTE waiting to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't care how old Canelo is, Bud is losing his brain cells.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think at this point, we're most likely going to see a Ryan probably have to settle for Jose Ramirez. We're most likely going to move forward to see Rolly with Isaac Cruz. I don't know where that leaves Tank because Tank is...
Oh, man.
Because Tank, obviously, I don't know if you saw or who they were talking about that the Saudi King was offering... he wanted to bring Devin Haney and Tank out, but Tank is over here saying, oh, if they want me to go fight, they better have 2 Ferraris parked in my front door.
Which is...
Like, bro, like, you're gonna probably be able to buy like 10 Ferraris with the amount of money you're probably gonna get paid from that fight.
All I have to say to that is, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck.
Yeah.
You know?
So realistically, I don't know where that leaves Tank. Ryan's gonna have to settle. Rolly, Isaac Cruz, Teofimo with Jermaine, but most likely, I believe we'll see Teofimo Haney next after February.
Hopefully.
You know, because I don't think Haney is gonna go against Matias. He's like, he's quote unquote feared right now, but he's too unknown. Yeah, it's like one of those situations where it's a lot of risk, little reward kind of vibes. Right. I see more Teofimo fighting Subros Matias first, or maybe even Ryan. Maybe that's where Ryan goes next. He
fighting Tell next. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
No, fighting Subros Matias.
Oh, Matias.
Yeah, so maybe Ryan instead of Jose Ramirez, he goes for the other belt against Matias, and that gives Ryan some leverage because now you'll have Rolly, Ryan, Haney, and Teofimo the chance at 140.
That's true. And if I have one thing to say about Ryan, his one saving grace is that regardless of who he fights, he's a cash cow.
Yeah.
So if he actually gets some legitimate names on his resume while he's in limbo right now, it's gonna get to a point where it's like, hey, I fought some legit guys, and I'm still the one who makes the real money around here. Mm-hmm. You're the one losing out if you don't fight me.
100%.
So, you know.
And speaking of cash cows, now we're talking about my daddy and name and daddy.
Yeah, right. You're right there.
Yep, Canelo. I'm all about you, baby. So Canelo, apparently, there's rumors going around that he's going to fight the second Charlo brother. And if Julio was here, he'd fucking have a heart attack, of course, whatever. But I told him last time, I literally said, I do not think Benavidez is next, right? And I tried seeing if there's any official confirmation of this being true. I can't find anything that solidifies that it's true. But there's too much talk going around that it seems like this is probably going to be the next fight.
Let me add my own caveat here before we continue. I'm not as much of a drama queen as my bald counterpart is usually here. So I would like to say I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of Big Charlo being the next fight. Honestly, I think I'd rather see Munguia over Big Charlo. Because, you know, Big Charlo was inactive for like 10 years. Mm-hmm. Or at least it felt like it. And, you know, his comeback fight was against Benavidez, who was like way too undersized to be in that weight class to begin with. So,
but see, this is where this is where I take myself out of being a fan, and I put myself as trying to be in someone's shoes, right? Okay. There's been years that people have been calling out for Canelo to fight the Charlo brothers. This is the problem with boxing, right? That you will never satisfy the fans. Because regardless of what status the Charlo brothers were or are, whether, he was too small and he moved up, or he's been inactive, whatever, the status was, that has nothing to do with Canelo. Absolutely. You guys have asked for Canelo to fight these people, and he's fighting them. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that Charlo had his own problems going on and he didn't stay active, that's on him. But all I do know is he already had a comeback fight against Jose Benavidez, right? And he won. He looked decent, you know what I'm saying? He looked more aggressive than I've seen him in the previous fight that he had before he went on his long layoff. So realistically, based on the fact that he went back on and had a fight, I don't know. I won't throw too much shade against Canelo, because ever since the PBC deal announcement was said, everyone expected 2 Charlos and Benavidez, right? Right. I obviously would love to see, like I've told Julio, I would have loved to see Benavidez next, because it would give us the opportunity of a potential rematch as the last fight if the fight would have been competitive. But it's also going to be one of those situations where if Canelo were to fight Benavidez next, in my humble opinion, right, and he would have done the rematch but never gave Big Charlo the chance, I guarantee you people would be talking shit. I guarantee you Big Charlo would have gone off to fucking fight, David Morale, and he would have ended up fighting, got the hype, Munguia and Berlanga, get hype behind him, and suddenly fucking has names under him, and now he's worthy. Canelo ducked, right? So, in my opinion, they're professional boxers. They know what they have within them. I'm not gonna throw shade to anyone, because if it wasn't Canelo fighting him, but Big Charlo fights Boo Boo next, or Big Charlo fights Caleb Plant next, or Big Charlo fights Benavidez next, I guarantee you everybody on the other half is going to get all the props for fighting Big Charlo. But whatever reason, people are never happy when Canelo does it. Because everybody was happy when Plant Benavidez happened. That is true. But nobody cared for it when Canelo did it. I agree with that, which is double standards. If you're one of those people, Delgado, check yourself. Delgado. This is the third time I give you a shout out, Delgado, and you still don't watch my video, you freaking snake. But yeah, so all I know is I knew Benavidez wasn't next. Fair. Which, realistically, it's like Mexican Independence Day. Makes more sense. And in reality, if you're talking Berlanga, Munguia, Big Charlo, even Morale, in reality, none of those names deserve the Canelo fight. Absolutely. Other than Benavidez, but at this point, if you rank them, I think it would be like Morel, Berlanga, Munguia, Charlo, who deserve the fight next. So technically, in my opinion, he's fighting the most deserving one. Okay. But obviously not the one. But I do think he will end up fighting David Benavidez. But like we all know, boxing loves plot twists. Maybe the fact that these fucking rumors are out there, Canelo's gonna be like, psych, Benavidez. Just when everybody had given up hope, he proves again why he's the GOAT of this era. Fuck what Julio says. Yeah. I hope he watches this. I hope so too, because we got a lot to talk about young Julian. Yes, the turncoat. If he were in this seat right now, he'd be trying to crucify Big Red. So stay tuned, guys, for his big lash out at this whole situation. Later in the next video. There you go. And if anybody misses this pretty face, it's usually behind the camera. Sorry. This is my intern, guys. I was making all the noise and making coffee the last time. Yes, I'm the slave labor. Sorry, they don't feed me. They don't pay me. I gotta work and eat on the job. Heck yeah. Well, either way, it's fight week. We have Munguia, John Ryder coming up on Saturday, so stay tuned for that next video. We're gonna do a preview video. I want to thank my host and my intern here. We're getting him prepped for the next phase of knockout sessions, where hopefully he's going to start joining us more often. But as always, like the video, subscribe, share. Make sure to all your lovers and all your haters, you make sure to share this video too. And as always, thank you for all the love and support, guys. Boom.